familiar, it's our standard 2x2 table. And in the past, what we used to put is our exposure on this side and our health outcome up here. However, we no longer do that when we're trying to establish the validity of screening tests. Instead, what we're doing is we're comparing the screener results whether or not you were positive or negative on the screener, and we're comparing that to our gold standard, which gives us the real results. Think of our diagnostic tests. So the gold standard says you actually have this thing or not. So whether or not you're positive or negative for the health outcome, as told by the gold standard test. And to put this in more concrete terms so that you can understand it, let's think of the screener of a mammogram for breast cancer. A mammogram, what it'll tell you is whether or not you have a lump. And it does not tell you, however, whether or not it's cancerous. All it can tell you is, hey, we see a lump. And what do you have to do? You have to go do a biopsy of the lump to determine if it's cancer. So, lump biopsy. And the results of that will tell you whether or not you actually have breast cancer. So our mammogram is the screener. Our lump biopsy is the gold standard test for whether or not you actually have breast cancer or you just have a benign tumor in your breast, right? So if we do this, the way that this table works out and how you should read it is that everyone in this box here has breast cancer. They are positive for breast cancer according to our gold standard, which means they have breast cancer. Everyone in this box here, no breast cancer. So that's how you would read this. These people are positive, are actually positive. These people are actually negative. How does this work? So if you look at it, if you start here, and so they screened positive according to the mammogram. The mammogram says, hey, you have a lump. And then we go do our lump biopsy, and the lump biopsy comes back positive. It says, yes, that lump is cancer. You are now a true positive for breast cancer. Your mammogram said you likely had breast cancer. Your lumpectomy said you had breast cancer. You are a true positive. So your screener results matched your gold standard test for breast cancer. Now sometimes we have a mammogram that says, hey, you might have a breast cancer lump here. And our biopsy goes, it's not breast cancer. And so we would call this a false positive for breast cancer. Your mammogram said you might have breast cancer, but it wasn't accurate. It was a false positive. The next thing is if you screen negative on my mammogram. However, when we do a biopsy of your breasts, we find out you actually do have cancer. This we would call a false negative because our screener said that you didn't have any breast cancer even though you did. Then, if we screen negative on our mammogram and we did a lump biopsy and there was absolutely no breast cancer, we would call this a true negative. Our mammogram said that you don't have breast cancer, and you actually don't have breast cancer. So what are these boxes over here on the right? These boxes are all who screen positive, all who screen negative. And this is your total sample per usual. Now, while that table looks crazy, this is the basic breakdown. And I'm going to now start with this on the next one, and we're going to walk through how you calculate some of the statistics we use while using this data.